all countries, bringing the total to 15, as scientists say they are still unsure what is causing the outbreak. Australia, Israel and Switzerland are the latest to report a presence of the virus. Well, these cases come as Britain's Health Security Agency has said higher risk contacts of people with monkeypox should self-isolate for 3 weeks, as Mark Lobel reports.
It's still unclear why we're witnessing this unusual spread of monkeypox, as more patients emerge with the common symptoms of a bumpy rash, fever, sore muscles and a headache.
But it is something that everybody should be concerned about. We're working on it hard to figure out what we do and what vaccine, if any, may be available for it. But it is a concern in the sense that if it were to spread, it's consequential.
Austria has joined Israel and Switzerland in confirming cases of monkeypox there, bringing the total number of nations reporting outbreaks to 15. So how dangerous is the virus strain detected in Austria?
Eigentlich nicht sehr gefährlich. Wir wissen aus Großbritannien, dass es sich
Actually, it's not very dangerous. We know from Great Britain that it is probably the West African strain, and that is not very dangerous. The death rate is around 1%, but usually we have mild cases.
eher milde Verläufe.
However, the UK Health Security Agency warns severe illness can occur.
There are certain individuals who are much more at risk of severe disease, particularly immunosuppressed individuals or young children.
It can take around 12 days to show symptoms, and patients are advised to isolate until their scabs have fallen off. Belgium has become the first country to introduce a compulsory 21-day quarantine for monkeypox patients. Contract tracers in the UK are going one step further, advising people who have had direct unprotected contact with a case to self-isolate for 21 days too.
What I think will happen is, there will be more spread, but it will be slow. And what you'll start to see is that outbreak starting to kind of ebb away as more and more people become aware that monkeypox is spreading, that they seek treatment, and we start to deploy the smallpox vaccine to do what's called ring vaccination, to vaccinate all the contacts in a ring around the cases so that we stop the spread.
Past outbreaks have been stopped in their tracks, like in the US in 2003. But the outbreak of this strain amidst a global pandemic and the emergence of monkeypox in countries where it doesn't normally appear adds to the concern. Mark Lobel, BBC News.
Let's speak now to Dr. Helen Vimilaratne, who's an expert on infectious diseases at the University of Birmingham. Dr. Helen, thank you for being with us. And the message quite clearly in that package as well is that there is nothing to panic about, but people need to be aware, they need to be conscious, and they need to seek help if they are concerned. Talk to me about where this may have come from and how we are seeing so many cases.
Yeah, so it's really unusual, obviously, to see a cluster of cases like this. It seems like it was probably imported from an individual who travelled to West Africa. It seems genetically like it's the West African strain that's circulating. So now it's circulating within particular pockets and subpopulations, predominantly in urban areas, which is different from the natural epidemiology that's seen in West Africa, where it is more confined, more usually, to rural areas. And the interesting thing about monkeypox is that although we know a lot about the biology of the virus, we don't necessarily fully understand the epidemiology of it. So it's likely to be usually confined to animal populations and then to spill over into human populations. But we don't know what the animal reservoir is. But we know that human-to-human transmission is not usually the most important method of transmission.
Yeah, so talk to me, and sorry to interrupt, talk to me a little bit about that transmission. How is it being transmitted and how can people prevent that transmission if possible?
Yeah, so it's transmitted by really close contact, usually with bodily fluids. So that would be the sort of contact that you might have with somebody that is dependent on you for care or with a close partner. So we're talking about really close and household contacts. We're not talking about casually walking past somebody in the street or sitting next to somebody on a bus. So I think that we should definitely have a message that nobody should be overly alarmed and nobody should be panicking. Obviously, good hygiene is important, but contact tracing is going to be really important. And it would be nice if we learn very much from the lessons of COVID and put into place really good early contact tracing. We talk about following up 2 rings of contacts around the cases that are identified, and then to offer vaccination where appropriate, and monitoring and isolation. And I think that if this is practiced really well, it would be great if this is kind of a textbook example case going forwards for when we have, inevitably, we will have similar outbreaks in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting to draw those parallels with COVID, although, as you point out, there is nothing like the risk associated with COVID. But nonetheless, we've learned a lot, haven't we, about contact tracing, isolation. So the UK and Belgium now recommending a 3-week isolation period to try and put a lid on this. And also clearly vaccines as well. Talk to me about what vaccines are available if anyone is concerned that they may be suffering from this.
Yeah, so there is one vaccine which is licensed by the European Medical Association, which has been licensed, approved for use for monkeypox, and it's actually originally developed as a smallpox vaccine, but it's approximately 85% effective at preventing preventing monkeypox. So that is a highly effective vaccine, and that could be appropriate for people who've had particularly close contact, and in particular those who might have underlying health conditions which compromise their natural immunity.
Thank you for being so clear on that. It's really important, isn't it? Dr. Helen Vimilaratne, I pronounced it right this time. Thank you. Who's an expert?
How we doing, guys? Myself, Chris Preddy, OBE, hitting you with a quick one. Real Talk Tuesdays, and look, a walk and talk right now. Don't worry, I'll wait. So there's 57 new cases and there's a breakout in 15 different countries, but they're saying that they don't want us to panic. But they are saying that if anybody is feeling any monkeypox or got any blisters or scabs or feeling fever, then you have to isolate for 3 weeks. Then they're also saying that they've got vaccines now for the monkeypox, which is smallpox. And then they're also saying that these are the kind of things that we need to stay on top of, guys. We need to stay on top of it. We need to make sure that we know what it is, but at the same time, we don't know what it is and we don't know where it's coming from. But don't worry, don't panic. But at the same time, if you do feel like you're panicking, this is what you can do to go to other places to get the vaccine and everything, which is 75% to 85% effective. But we still don't know why the outbreak is happening. And they're blaming it on West Africa because they're saying it's the West African strain, but they're not fully aware, is it's the West African strain? So I'm just hyped on just, how can we make this make sense? Help me make it make sense. And then at the same time, you got Mr. Flippin' Boris, Mr. Numpty, but Mr. Lyad. That's what I'm going to call man from now on, Mr. Lyad. No one's there getting more fines, and then the government is even saying that they don't want to prosecute Boris because they feel a little bit uneasy because that's their boss. Wow. So, okay, cool. We're still banging at the Ukraine war. We're still trying to fund Ukraine in the sense of helping them and supporting them with Putin. We've got Boris Johnson, that is one of our leaders, and he's actually an absolutely liar. We've got Keir Starmer, that if it is the Labour, then he's absolutely liar as well. And then we've got our powerful people that's in power in the sense of politicians, MPs, that they've been getting done for rape. They've been getting done for murder. They've been getting done for sex scandals. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, why now? They've even said that, this is kind of like an outbreak that's going to happen and then it's just going to fade away. But ain't that the same thing that happened with COVID? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that COVID didn't stop a lot of loved ones being able to live continuous or to be able to have a further life because of the illness and certain symptoms that they may have had, and due to certain circumstances, the things that did happen. But I'm looking at the whole situation right now when they're talking about, monkeypox compared to COVID, and, COVID ain't killing people like the way COVID was killing people, not the way that monkeypox is killing people. But it started off like that. It started off that no one wasn't really dying. We didn't understand where it was coming from. We didn't understand why people was being affected. And then before you know it, cases started rising. And then all of a sudden now it's lockdown. All of a sudden now we're sitting there thinking about pushing out vaccines, elderly, making sure that we are okay, making sure that we understand. My whole thing is, I'm not saying that these kind of things ain't real. I'm not saying that the vaccines don't work. I'm not anti-vaxxer. I'm just saying to myself, why are you always putting it into a situation where you have to give someone an injection, you have to give someone a jab, and then even sometimes you're saying that you've made mistakes. Now everyone makes mistakes. Everyone wants to sit there and try and put their best foot forward in the sense of, oh, okay, cool, if it's monkeypox, what are we going to do? Let's self-isolate. Let's understand where it's coming from. So I get all of that. Scientists and all the kind of rest of it, the government, they have to do what's safe. They have to do what makes sense. But at the same time, I'm looking at this whole situation and it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. So should we be concerned or shouldn't we be concerned? Should we take this seriously? Shouldn't we take this seriously? Is people dying from it? People not dying from it? Because once again, you're just giving us the information that you feel like it's okay to give us. And if you sit there and say, hold on a minute, guys, it's like COVID, people are dying, then you know there's going to be a big outbreak and people are going to be concerned and they're going to be thinking about lockdowns. People are going to start panic buying and all this kind of rest of the stuff. So there's a part of them that might be telling the truth and there's a part of them that won't be telling us the truth because they know that if they start saying all these kind of things, it's not going to make sense because it started off, oh, guys, don't worry about it. It's only 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases. Oh, it's only 9 cases, only 11 cases. Oh, now it's 57 cases. What's going to happen when it gets to thousands, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and then everyone's going to be like, yeah, maybe this monkeypox thing is serious. But I just want to say to you guys, what do you guys think? Do you think it's serious? Do you think it's not serious? Do you think it once again is another scandal or a scam that the government's trying to put in? Maybe they've got some COVID tests left over. Maybe they've got some vaccines left over, and they're thinking to themselves, let's just say it's monkeypox. Let's just say it's smallpox and give people these injections so they can get more of the booster and everything. I don't know. Speculations, but once again, it's just allegations at the moment. What's you guys' thoughts? Comment below.